Victory Monday always tastes so much sweeter when the Eagles are having that Victory Monday because they whooped some Cowboys' ass. Eagles did just that. Kicked some Cowboys' ass. We're going to talk all about it. Beautiful game from our Eagles. Short week ahead. Lots to dive into. Trending in the AM. We're live in 30 seconds.
Pop, 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 pop your julep. Pop, 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 pop your julep. Pop, 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 pop your julep. Pop, 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 woo!
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome all to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. We're live, YouTube and Twitter. That's where we're live at, guys. So make sure you do me that favor, whichever platform you're on. You hit that like button, you hit that share button, you hit that subscribe button on the YouTube page. That is the most important place to be watching. That is the best place to be watching the STT Sports Network on YouTube right there, guys. I'd greatly appreciate that. And if you've already subscribed, please do me that favor and hit that share and try to tell one, tell all, tell everybody to join in and find this great channel, guys. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, at Beard of Knowledge on all other social media platforms. And, guys, we got a jam-packed day. Jam-packed. Why is that? Because the Eagles won again. 5-game winning streak now. 5 games, 6 game, whatever it is. It's going pretty damn well right now. And this win comes on the heels of whooping some Cowboys' ass yesterday in Dallas. 5-game winning streak. That's right. Victory Monday is just so much sweeter when it's Dallas that we beat up on. And anyway, real quick, before we get into that game, I do want to take a moment to say today is Veterans Day, and a special shout out and salute to all our veterans. I know quite a few that do watch this show on the regular. My good friend Kyle is one of them, who's always in the chat when work and life allows. So shout out to all the veterans, and thank you very much for your service, and thank you very much for everything you've done to give us the opportunity to host a show like this every morning and, have the freedoms and life that we have. So happy Veterans Day to everyone out there. And let's just dive right into it. There's lots of comments already going on. Good morning. Happy Victory Veterans Day Monday to you, Duck. Good morning. Kyle is in the comments. Say happy Veterans Day to you. No Hurts MVP. Not with that first half stop. We'll get into that in a little bit. Who's your next guest? I don't know. You're just going to stay and find out. Marshawn, we can agree on this, right? We might not agree on everything today, but we can agree on this 100%. Nooms was in late last night commenting on the thread. With the defense, you can ask Hurts to do less. NFC is fair game. A long way to go. I don't know. We're gonna talk about it. Zach Bond is going to be someone we cover a lot today. The linebacker core as a whole, we are going to talk a lot about today. We are going to talk a lot about Jalen Hurts, a lot about the defense, a lot today. Because, again, it was a big victory. And there was a lot of positives to take from the game. And I know the Dallas Cowboys are not who they used to be. The Dallas Cowboys are not even a decent organization. Honestly, if before 9:30, when this show ends, we get breaking news that Mike McCarthy has been fired by the Dallas Cowboys, I would not be shocked. That's how much disarray the Dallas Cowboys are in right now. But you can only play the teams that are on your schedule in front of you. And the Eagles are doing that. And the Eagles are taking care of business right now. Hence why, with yesterday's win and Washington's loss yesterday to Pittsburgh, the Eagles are in first place in the NFC East on November 11th, 2024. Who would have thought with the 2-2 start we'd be in first place? Well, I did. I was right there. What is up, K1? Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Peanut is in the house. I hate to be that guy, but we've beat up on some mediocre teams. Yeah, we have beat up on mediocre teams. But we did mop the floor with them, so there's that. Look, you can only beat the teams in front of you. That's all you can do. I'd rather win the games we're supposed to win. Look, Peanut, we got Washington on a short rest. We got Pittsburgh. We got Baltimore. We got the Rams. We got Washington again. We got some tough-ass games on the horizon. You better take care of business when you're supposed to. That's all you can say about that. That's what you got to do. Diggs made a great play on that pick. Not sure what the play calling gets cute there, but Goddard was open. Yeah, look, I would tend to blame Jalen Hurts for the fumble more than the interception. The interception was just Diggs is one of those cornerbacks that jump routes, and he makes big important picks, but he also makes boneheaded plays by getting burnt. So he made a great play on the interception. The fumble from Jalen Hurts was much more of a concern and much more of an issue to me than the interception. Maybe on the interception, Goddard could have, I think I've said this before, could have cut the route in a different direction maybe and attacked the ball more. He didn't, whatever. It was just a great play by Diggs, who makes those kind of plays on the regular. So I'm not shocked. I'm not worried about that one. The fumble, Jalen got a little loosey-goosey with the football for sure. Jarrett McCain, are you not in? Look, we'll have some Sixers talk this week for sure. Not today. Not much today. But Jarrett McCain had a hell of a game last night. I didn't turn it on until about the fourth quarter. Rick, good morning. How are you today? Good morning to you, Maz or Nas or Nas. Good morning to you. I blame Jalen for all the sacks. He holds the ball way too long. Some of the sacks were on Jalen, sure. Some of them were there. 2 or 3 of them were just all-out blitzes where there was nothing that Jalen could do. But there was at least 2 that I counted that I think Jalen danced around too much. But on the flip side, how many times yesterday did Jalen fail the blitz, step up, and extend a play and make a play downfield? Or how many times did he step up and run for a first down or run for a big game? So while Jalen took a few sacks that he shouldn't have, he also avoided several sacks. So, Marsha, let's give it. He should have gotten rid of the ball 2 or 3 times quicker. But there were a couple times where he felt that pressure. So some of it is on Jalen, but I've been saying this for like 2 years. The Eagles' pass protection is not as great as people think it is. And I think some of the sacks were on him. Some weren't. But he did avoid 2 or 3 sacks. There were at least 2 passes that he stepped up, avoided the pressure, slid to the right, left, straight forward, and nailed the pass down the field. And there were 2 of his runs were him avoiding pressure and scrambling outside and getting big gains. Eagles go 5-3 or 6-2 over the next 8. Over the next 8, Rick, I have to look at the schedule specifically to see 8. So that would be Washington, LA, Baltimore. They're going to win the Carolina game, obviously. That, to me, is not a question. They'll win at least one of the Washington games. That's 2. Yeah, I don't know. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the rest of the season you're talking about. There's 1, 2. I count at least 4 games. Yeah. They can win 5 or 6 games. They can win 5 or 6 games pretty easily there. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that prediction. Eagles with first 3 consecutive 20-plus road wins for the first time since 1949. My father-in-law. I love that. How about a second straight spectacular? Yeah, 2 straight games, 2 big catches for John Dotson. It's about time, right? He still can't get more than 1 catch in a game, but hey, it is what it is. This is how he's supposed to feel after an Eagles win. Absolutely. The NFL lucked into Thursday Night Football. Eagles, Washington, first place on the line. Gotta love that. Detroit, even when they are losing, still find ways to win. How do you beat a team that much? Dude, the Detroit, man, just imagine this. Can you imagine what the narrative would be today, this morning, if Jalen Hurts threw 5 interceptions, but yet the team still found a way to win? Guaranteed Detroit's not calling for Jared Goff to be fired right now or be benched right now. But, that would be the case if it was in Philly. For sure. Those options suck. So what? K1, that Dotson catch looked too easy for him. Dotson does make a really great, how does he attacks the ball really well. He really does. He really high points it well. He really gets after it really well. So I do like that. It's also play designs. They didn't leave Hurts a safety valve in the middle or under. They do these developing plays, but it's basically a sellout play. I agree with that. I do. I watched the game again, nationally televised. They good? Well, I'm glad they are. Pittsburgh's a gritty ass now, Marshawn, and Russell Wilson's starting to feel himself. He's got a good team. The Pittsburgh team around him is eerily similar to when he was successful in Seattle with great defense, a great run game, just enough for him to get the job done. Washington should have won that game yesterday. They blew it, though. The Lions won bigly. Lions won. I don't know how. Buffalo Bills crushed Colts. Yes, I know. Commies versus Pittsburgh was a stand-up punching match. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting because we got to face both those teams in the coming weeks. Washington, obviously, twice. Eagles luckily got out of yesterday's game pretty clean, pretty injury-free. It is a short week, but man, they're going to need everybody 110% for these punching battles that they're going to go into with these teams. Panthers beat Giants, yeah. I'm so glad that that was representing us in Germany. The New Jersey Giants are the worst team in the NFL. Just remember, there was one person out of how many people live on this planet Earth? Like 6 billion people. There was one person, only one person, Duck, that chose Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. The Giants tanking as they should. They need to move on from Danny Dimes. Yeah, I hope they never move on from Danny Dimes. Where's Trinidad exactly? He's been eerily quiet, and I do check every morning. And the Knicks lost last night, so I was going to remind them that. How much of an underdog would we be against the Lions? They run the ball well, and we defend the run well. It'd be interesting. It depends. Like we opened. I didn't look today, but yesterday after the game ended, we opened as 3.5-point favorites at home against Washington, which means we are just better than a pick 'em on a neutral field. I would have to stay on a neutral field. The Eagles would be right now a 2.5-point dog to Detroit on a neutral field, which would put them the favorite at home and 5.5-point dogs on the road. So I think Detroit is still a better team, but barely. I think Detroit is beatable, but Eagles are obviously beatable as well. Burns owned what? King Henry on the Ravens. Week what? What? King Henry's been running great this year. Trinidad will be here if the Sixers lose to Knicks on Tuesday. Yeah, exactly. He's just saving for that one moment there. Look, let's look at the game itself. What is this? Lions took a huge hit losing Hutchinson. They did. Lions versus Cowboys is going to ruin that. I'm just not even going to watch it, Kyle. It'll be on in the background probably. But anyway, let's look at the game a little bit more in detail. Let's talk about this, or keep talking other teams. Lions are really good, but Houston gave a good blueprint on how to beat them. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Eagles won 34-6. And how did they get there? How did they do it? Honestly, I feel like I didn't really learn offensively much about the Eagles. I know they put up 4 touchdowns. I know they did their thing. I know they moved the ball pretty easily on offense. But I think this was more of a coming out party for the Eagles defense than the offense. The Eagles defense earned and gained a lot of respect probably around the NFL for just how good Vic Fangio has this team playing. When was the last time in Eagles history that we had this much elite linebacker and defensive back play at the same time? You got Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. I'll give a little credit to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He didn't have a bad game. You got Zach Bond playing some of the best linebacker play I have seen in I have no idea how long. You have Nakobe Dean. It will fly under the radar. But Nakobe Dean was all over the place yesterday. Making open field tackles. 3, 4, 5 open field tackles on ball carriers. I can't remember a time when our linebacker play and our cornerback play were this good and lined up this good at the same time, and for the most part, really young. The Eagles' defense is in a special place. And I know someone will say, well, it was Cooper Rush. They still got CeeDee Lamb out there. One of the best, if not one of the 3 best wide receivers in football. They still have talent on that offense. They took care of business, and I think it was great. Giants-Cowboys game on Thanksgiving is going to fight for worse, and sometimes it's nice. Yeah, true. Are Eagles that good? Dallas that bad? I think it's a combination of both. Cowboys, I don't think they're bad on paper. They're just poor. We crush Nick Sirianni and his leadership of this team all the time. Let me tell you something. Thank God we got the Eagles organization the way we do right now. It could be worse. It could be the Giants, or it could be the Cowboys. The Cowboys are so poorly run that there was some fake account out there talking about making up quotes from Micah Parsons, but they were so believable. Micah Parsons saying, "I don't care if Mike McCarthy's the coach anymore." Obviously, he didn't say that, but somebody was making it up. I'm like, but it's believable because they're so poorly coached, so poorly run. It's pathetic. It really is. I mean, you're facing Cooper Rush, so I knew someone would say it, and occasionally Trey Lance. You better dominate, but you still got to take care of business, right? And the Eagles took care of the business. They could have gone into it with a trap game mentality. Thursday Night Football upcoming. They could have gone into it, oh, we got this, no worries, and fall into that trap. They didn't fall into that trap. They did exactly what they needed to do, and they left no doubt. It could have been a close game, but no doubt they just took care of business. This is one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL right now. I don't think people realize that. They are effing trash. The Cowboys, I assume you're saying. Answer to Al is just yes. So both good and bad. How quickly we forget Jordan Hicks. I didn't forget them. I said I asked when was the last time. That's all I said. When was the last time? And yes, Nigel Bradham and Jordan Hicks were good. We are better than the Commanders. They will be more dangerous next year, but I can see Vic neutralizing Daniels. I can't wait. It's a short week. Which is tough. From what I heard, the Eagles will have the day off today. They will practice tomorrow. They have a walkthrough Wednesday, and that's it. So it's a quick turnaround week. So it's going to be a dangerous game for both the Eagles and the Commanders, except the Commanders have faced Jalen Hurts many of times. We have never faced Jalen Daniels. So we're going to have to hope that the coaching staff has put together a good game plan and a good practice routine ahead of schedule, so they're ready to go. Well, there you go. That's always helpful. The Eagles D is a great D to have in fantasy football right now. Has maybe 1 or 2 years left on planet. Could he please put them together? That doesn't think for once. What? Bond will get the bag. I hope Howie gets that locked down now. Look, get Zach Bond paid now. Every game that goes by, Zach Bond's cost is going through the roof. I saw an article like 2 weeks ago, estimating that Zach Bond could get like 220, 331, something like that. Every game, it's just going up. Zach Bond is just, I love stories like Zach Bond. It's a refreshing story. The guy's just a great dude. Seems like an awesome guy. I remember when we signed Zach Bond, I'm like, another depth special teams piece in the linebacker core. Another guy that's just Howie Roseman bringing in a nobody to play a position because he doesn't value the position. Well, Howie Roseman got damn lucky in his choice of Zach Bond, no doubt about it. Eagles are that good, and Dallas are bad and mentally weak. The Cowboys are mentally weak for sure. But I'm going to still lose because of Chase. Parsons was on the sideline laughing it up with down 4 touchdowns. Awful look. Yeah, look. Micah Parsons had himself a day. He had a couple sacks. Micah Parsons was banged up going into the game. Micah Parsons is checked out on his team. All things are true. Of course, after the game, you saw Parsons and Darius Slay hugging it out as always. Makes me nauseous. I remind you that we should have taken care of Jacksonville easily, too. It was a heart attack game, yeah. And it was close against Cleveland Browns as well. So we haven't smoked every one of those opponents in front of us. I get that, Duck. But we took care of business yesterday. We're gaining momentum every single week. Every week we're taking a step forward as a team. Every week we're getting better. And we're getting healthier. Right now, the only 2 really important pieces are Jordan Mailata and I guess Britton Covey, but honestly, Cooper DeJean is settling in nicely as a punt returner. Not that I want my punt returner, my starting slot corner as a punt returner, but he's doing fine. Commies took some bad body blows against Pittsburgh. I'm sure they will still be physically sore on Thursday, but they came in with a bit of a chip. That's a great point. Interesting. How much does it play a factor going into Thursday Night Football when Team 1 coasted to victory, had pretty much all their starters out by the 4th quarter, no stress really on anybody, don't remember too many big bad hits on the Eagles players. Saquon Barkley is a little concerned. He took that elbow or helmet to the arm. Washington was in a knockdown, drag-out battle against a hard-hitting team like Pittsburgh. Like, that's something to take into account as well right there, for sure. And look, I'm not saying I think the Eagles will win or not yet, but it definitely favors the Eagles at this point. Hey, look at this. You asked for a guest. I brought you on a guest. No hesitation. You called for it. You asked for it. You got him. Deebs is here. Mr. Crockpot on social media. What's up? Good morning. How special is Victory Monday when it's a blowout Cowboys Victory Monday?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the biggest win in a long time. They played for the first time together, and they really pulled it out. I'm excited to talk about Jared McCain and all the things he's flashed over these last couple games.
Oh, you want to talk Jared McCain? We've already had 2 or 3 Jared McCain comments in the chat. We'll save that for a little bit here. But look, it was a huge victory. Some people will say, well, it's just Cooper Rush. It's just the Cowboys. They're a disaster. But it's still the Cowboys. They still have a lot of talent on paper. Their organization is bad. But that was a complete victory. It's not like I can just pull out one person and say, this person is why we won. It was a complete and total team victory yesterday.
That was something like in recent weeks that we haven't seen, especially going back to 2023. Very rarely do we get to see the offense and the defense back each other up. There were several times when the defense really dug the offense out of a hole. I think there was a couple 3-and-outs there that were really impressive. For me, it was the defense. Cooper Rush sucks. Dallas is in shambles.
Yeah.
But everything we have seen, this is the youngest defense in the NFL. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell completely locked down CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had 3.5 yards per reception, a long of 6 yards. He was literally a non-factor yesterday. Yeah, he had that sun in his eyes. That could have been a touchdown, I think. But who cares? You look at Jalen.
You would think Dallas playing there 8-9 times a year. They should have known that. And that, if that was an Eagles play call, we would have crushed them for calling a play when they shouldn't have. Dallas should have known better than to call that play.
Yeah. Jalen Hunt playing 25 snaps. We've been pounding the table for that. Even though Bryce Huff did make an impact yesterday, I think Jalen Hunt is another kind of chess piece for this defense. They're tackling well. Nakobe Dean and especially Zach Bond have been unbelievable. Zach Bond's not playing like a Pro Bowler. Zach Bond is playing like an All-Pro. There are not enough words to pump up Vic Fangio and what he has done to unlock the linebacker position for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's now a strength of this team. It's unbelievable, Phil.
It is. And right away, a couple comments here. I mean, I think this is so cool, or on cue from Nooms. Bird's defense is finally figuring out the concepts of Vic Fangio and getting younger in the same. And I don't know about the Quinion of very young James Bradbury. I don't know. I don't remember James Bradbury being this elite as a rookie. I don't know. But I think it's so important that we may have overreacted early in the season a little bit. And there was a lot of learning that needed to happen for Vic Fangio's schemes to properly be executed. And you're seeing the results of Vic Fangio and the team being patient. It's not like they went out and made a big trade at the deadline or anything like that. They stayed the course. And now you see the fruits of this labor coming through.
Yeah, it's truthfully it's a complex defense that does take time for the Eagles. Yeah, they've been running the Sean Desai, Vic Fangio defense for years, but, it does take time. I was I threw a lot of question marks at this defense early on this season, but doesn't it feel nice, Phil, to have a back seven that plays sticky on receivers and they're giving them nothing. The Cowboys had nothing after the catch, absolutely nothing. They're making all their tackles, and most notably Cooper DeJean. We could do a whole segment on Cooper DeJean, but he has really been the component, I think, the engine of what this identity for this Eagles defense, the run defense, the tackling, the swagger, all that. I think him, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Q. I mean, it's really exciting.
And you know what? There was something a few weeks ago that we complained about communication from Vic Fangio down to the sideline. I forget which game it was. He was saying they didn't get the calls in quick enough. and you saw it early in the game when Darius Slay went out. Isaiah Rodgers was in there, and he played really off of, I think it was CeeDee Lamb on a third down, or maybe it was Tolbert, and he played really far off. There was a completed out pattern that went for a first down. The very next third down, Isaiah Rodgers was up on the line of scrimmage, and it forced a Cooper Rush throwaway that would have been the exact same play. So everything is slowly moving in the right direction that, I cannot remember the last time that I felt this confident about our defense.
Yeah.
And not just one aspect. Like we've always either had a great defensive line or great safety play or what. When was the last time we were confident in all levels of the defense like we are right now?
I think the biggest surprise, it's not even the 4-man pass rush. It's the back seven. That's so beyond impressive. D Slay gets a lot of hate, but I think he's been fine. Isaiah Rodgers was a bit of a question mark, but they've got some young players through and through that are really exciting. I mean, you could go all the way down to Moro Jomo, who's making plays. Milton Williams had the fumble recovery. They've got some real pieces going forward. It's amazing, man. Oh, thanks, man. I don't know about
we have one pro Deebs comment. We had like 2 negative Deeb comments. One fully caffeinated Deebs were in trouble, and of course the facial hair comment, which we always get for some reason. I don't get it, but whatever. You mentioned Alex Hunt, and I love the fact that when your coaches and coordinators talk during the week, they follow through with it. Because if you think about it, obviously Nick Sirianni was praising the work that Alex Hunt had, and then he gave it. But this actually happened a few weeks back before Cooper DeJean was the starter. Vic Fangio spoke. Cooper DeJean's really practicing well. He's almost ready. And then they unleashed him right after that. They did the same, and Alex Hunt didn't just get snaps in mop-up fourth-quarter duty. He got snaps in important moments, and he had it'll go underrated. He made a batted ball. It was the dropped interception by Nakobe Dean was a batted ball from Alex Hunt. So, Alex Hunt stepping up in that moment, where has he been? You know what I mean? Like, it's great to see him finally get that opportunity, put the work in, get that opportunity yesterday. I mean, Bryce Huff made the big play, but now if Bryce Huff is kind of getting healthy and figuring it out, you're mixing in Alex Hunt. You've got quite the deep rotation at the edge rusher right now, don't you?
I love the fit with Alex Hunt. I mean, I've been calling this out for weeks. Why? Because Vic Fangio likes to run a lot of whip, which means he'll drop a defensive end back in coverage. And Alex Hunt, former safety, a guy that's bigger than Bryce Huff. We know he can already set the edge better against the run, and he's much more fluid and more athletic than Bryce Huff to be able to provide that role. So what I was really impressed with yesterday, again, Vic Fangio making adjustments and more so playing Alex Hunt early downs and using Bryce Huff as a let's call it as it is, a pass rush specialist. That's what he is. That's what his specialty is. So I'm just so excited, man. I'm excited to watch the Alex Hunt all 22 and see what that looks like, because obviously we're all kind of
I love Noom's on fire with comments say the unspoken in-play on-field communication. Like, so many times you see the defenders, like, they're forcing. It's similar to basketball. When you go to, like, when a shot blocker goes to attack the ball, he always hopes there's a guy that's got his back on the back end, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? So many times a defender on the Eagles will make a move to force a ball carrier inside or exterior, because he knows communication-wise everybody's in the right position. So he could try to take an outside angle, force the guy inside. There's another guy there to make the tackle. They're tackling. They're playing team defense really well. You mentioned a lot about Zach Bond. You mentioned a lot about a lot of guys. I don't think enough credit will go to Nakobe Dean for yesterday. I know he didn't lead the team in tackles, but I counted at least 3 or 4 really tough open field tackles of ball carriers yesterday. Swing passes to running backs out in coverage. Nakobe Dean had a hell of a game yesterday, and if he caught that interception, maybe he would have gotten a little bit more praise. But it was a pretty damn great performance from him as well. I know Zach Bond gets all the hype, but Nakobe Dean, there's a lot of Eagles fans that wrote Nakobe Dean off coming into this year.
Yeah, I think Vic Fangio is definitely settling in with Nakobe Dean, figuring out what he does best, and that's really nice to see. I mean, we just went, 10 minutes on the defense without even bringing up Jalen Carter, who I thought was arguably the MVP of the player of the game from the defense right there with Zach Bond. Jalen Carter is now almost becoming expected for him to be playing at this elite level. So hopefully he doesn't have that second half drop off like we saw last year. But Jalen Carter is just, again, no, we don't talk enough about Jalen Carter because that all 22 last week was awesome, just blowing up double teams. And I don't think we talk about it enough.
You know, talking about Jalen Carter and the fall off, do you fear, like, yesterday, his snap. Hold on, I have the snap count up on another page here. Hold on. Yesterday, he obviously played a little bit less on the snaps. Yesterday, it was 43 snaps, 72%. But he's been averaging right around 90% of the snaps, which is very different from what the Eagles like to do on their defensive line in previous years. Some of it, I think, is just because of how well he's playing. Some of it's because of the depth behind him. But, you know, are you concerned at all with Jalen Carter, the amount of snaps he's playing on a weekly basis? When you're talking about his fall off last year, or is he just that much of a beast and in even more better shape than he was last year? So we don't have to worry about that.
That's a good point. Yeah, a little concern for sure. Cause he is one of the
two previous games. He was over 90% the last two games before this week.
I think that's legit. I would like to maybe like slow that, maybe not on Thursday and we can get to Thursday if you want. But definitely a little more Ojomo, a little more Milton Williams wouldn't be nice. I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of had this thought in a different chat if maybe we even see Jalen Carter on the edge a little bit more going forward, because that guy one-on-one is one of the biggest mismatches in the NFL.
We talked about that maybe even with you when he was drafted here, that he could play anywhere on the defense. We really haven't seen that much yet. Last year or this year at all.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So we'll talk about Thursday in a few minutes here, but obviously we do have to talk about the offense as well. You know, it's hard to say the offense. They put up 34 points yesterday. They literally were able to sit Jalen Hurts and most of the starters for almost the entirety of the fourth quarter. Yes, Jalen Hurts threw the interception. I'm not really concerned about the interception. It was just a great play by Diggs. But I feel like we're all going to talk about the defense. We're all going to talk about it was just the Cowboys. And I don't think enough people are going to talk about it. It was a pretty clean, simple, well-designed offensive attack yesterday. And I really don't have any complaints about the game plan. A majority of the play calling was spot on. You know, they did their thing. They stayed healthy as well. Everybody got involved on the offense. I mean, I have no complaints, but yet I have nothing good or bad to say about the offense. Does that make sense? Because I kind of feel like neutral on the offense because it was not what I was expecting.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Because you went into this week with Dallas being one of the worst run defense in the league. I thought Saquon would run all over the Dallas Cowboys, and he only ended up with 15 touches. And I remember being on the halftime show and kind of pissed off because I want more Saquon Barkley. But at the end of the day, like, they have a game on Thursday. Like, it's probably better for them to have less touches for Saquon so he can get ready for the Commanders game. I think the Dallas defense played really well. I think Parsons was an animal. I thought he was awesome. He was all up in Jalen Hurts' face from the jump. They were running Engage 8 all game long, especially in the first half. And for the most part, I think the offensive line struggled at the jump. I thought the offense shot themselves in the foot way too much, especially on the first few drives. They were running way too many long developing plays like they have in the past. The Eagles offense tends to do this, and I don't know why. The first 3 or 4 series, they just love these long developing plays, and that typically leads to Jalen Hurts holding on to the ball too long. I don't understand it because really at the end of the first half, they had a long time-consuming drive where they had a lot of those short passes. I have the videos coming out after this, and you'll see it. And the quick short passes. I'm not saying run the ball all the time. I'm not saying use Saquon every single play, but get the ball out fast. Jalen Hurts is better when things are simplified. He's using his legs and he's getting the ball out fast. We have seen it in recent weeks when they're under center, when they're running play action, when they're using the middle of the field, they're running mesh. That's the secret sauce for the Eagles, and they tend to get away from it, which I don't understand. And really, from the last possession of the first half and through the second half, they were synchronized. They really ran a lot of the same kind of concepts, and they just owned the time of possession. And that's that 2022 Eagles offense that makes me kind of smile, because I think they had one more minute in terms of time of possession than the Dallas Cowboys in the first half. Not great. And then in the second half, blew them away, like twice as much time of possession. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's what I want to see. That's the offense when they're controlling the clock, when they're moving efficiently, not explosively. This Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore thing, they want to be pass first, then run second. And you look at the last few weeks, that's not been the case at all. There have been, number 2 EPA per rush offense since the bye week. So we need more of that. But also at the end of the day, I get why maybe they were passing a little more, because they maybe want to give Saquon somewhat of a day off.
It's funny. I was going to bring up something else with Jalen Hurts, but you talk about the simple passes, and he did have 2 turnovers. I believe they were on back-to-back drives. Obviously, the interception, then the fumble. The fumble was atrocious. That was all on Jalen Hurts, the fumble. But Kevin Nagani, ESPN, put out a tweet, and it's exactly what I've been calling for ages. You get Jalen Hurts in a rhythm. Short passes, quick passes. It gets that momentum going. And after the second turnover, Kevin Nagani tweeted out, and I shared it out and put my 2 cents in, it looks like he's losing confidence quickly. Let's get some quick passes, some short passes, gain that confidence back. And guess what they did? They ran 2 quick pass plays. One was to Smitty and one was to A.J. Brown. Exactly. He got his confidence back, and then boom, everything was right back to normal. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally such a simple concept. Give the guy easy passes, and then that confidence grows and builds, and then he's unstoppable when the confidence is there.
It's mind-numbing, because you go back to the first drive. They ran the ball. It was like 3rd and short, and then it's like pass. Like that's mind-numbing. Considering we know what works, we know what this offensive line is good at. When you get Becton and Juergens to that second level, they are nasty, and that's their strength. But I really hated it for the fact that the Dallas Cowboys were blitzing, and they were going right after Jalen. Like, where's the checkdowns? Like where's the quick short passes? That I feel like it's wrong to complain about a 34-6 victory, but it is there.
Because you're talking a lot about the pass rush and stuff. And Stevie, I see your comment. As Dallas, but Dallas' defense is still really good. Micah Parsons is probably one of the best defensive players in football. Top 5 defensive player in football. I know a lot of criticism is going to come with Jalen Hurts holds onto the ball too long. And some of those, what was it, 5 sacks he took yesterday? 5 or 6?
All in the first half.
Yeah, all in the first half. Yes, I know people will say he holds onto the ball too long. Some of those sacks were on him. Some of them were just all-out blitzes, too many defenders, not enough, blockers, no check down, not even time to throw to a check down. But I don't think people will realize how many times Jalen Hurts was blitzed yesterday, and he was able to avoid the sack. How many times he stepped up? I counted 2 or 3 times where he stepped up and found an open receiver downfield. I think 2 of his bigger runs came on blitzes where he shifted around the pocket, took off for a first down. So how much of it is, Jalen Hurts holding on to the ball too long? How much of it's just Dallas's pass rush is probably the only thing that they do well. Yeah. And our offensive line is banged up, obviously. You're missing Jordan Mailata. Mekhi Becton's not been 100%. I don't know if necessarily Jalen Hurts holds onto the ball too often, too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, sometimes, he's at fault sometimes, for sure. But it's not as bad as people think.
Yeah. He was 7 of 9 against the blitz yesterday. Okay. 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that was the quintessential Jalen Hurts experience yesterday. I agree he holds the ball for too long at times. And if he were just to get rid of the ball fast and throw it away, he probably would have saved a few drives, especially in the first half. But whereas that was bad, the 2 throws he had against pressure for touchdowns were absolutely some of my favorite Jalen Hurts moments of this season. If you want to share this, I have some clips of it. I don't know.
Go for it.
Can you hit share?
Oh, you need me to do it. Sorry. There you go.
No worries. So here's Jalen Hurts stepping up on the pressure, and then
this is one of the ones I remember right there. Yeah.
Like, it's there, Phil.
Yeah.
is there. It's for me, it's all about muscle memory. He just needs to. It's not in his comfort zone. It's clearly something he struggles with, but not like talent wise, he's got it. He just needs to build that muscle memory and do it much more often. This was another one, not really against pressure, but steps up and delivers a dart to Johnny freaking Wilson. That was awesome.
All I did when Johnny Wilson caught that touchdown, I just kept looking for the flag. That's that was just my expectation that there was a flag somewhere there. You know, there's a defender on the ground. It had to be Johnny Wilson pushing off, right? I think he did have a penalty called on special teams.
He officially has more points than penalty yards or something, or penalties.
About time now, right? But it's great to see that Johnny Wilson got involved, Johanna Dotson got involved. They're mixing different people in, and that's great to see. But yeah, I think a little too much is made that he holds on to it too long, because again, he does. But yesterday specifically, that Dallas pass rush, it's Micah Parsons. I would love to know how many plays. I know you said he went 7-9 against the blitz. How many times did they blitz totally yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys, between getting home, the passes he made, how many times he ran the ball? The amount of blitzing that they did, I bet you the percentage of bad decisions that Hurts made of holding on to it too long was very low in the grand scheme of things.
Jalen Hurts was pressured on over half of his dropbacks against the Cowboys. Again, 7 of 9, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Over his last 5 games, Jalen Hurts has almost 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns, 72% completion percentage, a 125 passer rating.
Yeah, I mean, let's complain that he holds on to the ball too long. But
I think
he's actually doing a pretty damn good job here.
We are nitpicking. We are nitpicking. Yes, I mean, even the best quarterbacks in the NFL make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We have a ridiculous microscope here in Philadelphia. This is the way we operate, and that's okay.
I want to get back to that point in a second, because there's another point I want to make on that. But I love this comment from Miston. This is something I've been preaching since Donovan McNabb was our quarterback. You can't mold a quarterback into something they're not. You got to go around what they're good at. We always wanted to make Donovan McNabb a pocket passer. Well, he was not a pocket passer, and that really kind of screwed up his opportunities here. The same thing with Jalen Hurts. Just let him be who he is.
Yes.
And it would make it so much better if we did it that way.
And I think we have seen that over the last few weeks, that 2022 Jalen, where we're using more of his legs, Jalen running with a purpose within the offense. That's his strength. And when you start doing that, that's what sets up the explosive plays down the field with the pass, not the other way around.
Did I say Johanna?
You did a little bit.
Did I? Sorry. That's classic Phil, right? Classic Phil. And we'll get to Thursday night, Mister, in a second, because it is, and Steve, because it is a big game. But you talk about we're putting people under a microscope here. Could you imagine the conversation today if Jalen Hurts had a Jared Goff-like game last night, but yet still won the football game? Do you think Detroit's calling for Jared Goff to be benched, or Dan Campbell to be fired, even though they won the game? They won it ugly, so to speak. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions last night.
Did he really?
He's probably being praised in Detroit for leading that comeback victory.
Yeah. I didn't even know that.
You didn't know? Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions last night.
If Jalen Hurts threw 5 interceptions, there would be pitchforks. There would be people with torches heading to NovaCare, for sure.
Absolutely. Thursday is his test of this defense. Look, a lot of comments. I think most Eagles fans have already moved on from Sunday's game, and they're all focused on Thursday because that's the real test. Stevie said here before, the excitement was gone all week. It amped more for the Thursday game, which is so true. I mean, the Eagles opened as 3.5-point favorites. It is at home. Washington had the tough loss. Someone made a comment earlier, I forget who it was, that a key thing that, and we talked about it before you joined, a key thing is the Eagles had a stress-free game. They didn't take too many big hits. Saquon got banged up before halftime, but he was back out there. We came out of it unscathed. It wasn't a stressful game. Washington went down to the wire in a hard-hitting, hard-pounding affair against Pittsburgh, losing that game. They're going to be on the road for the game. It is setting up to be slightly in favor of Philadelphia over Washington, even though Washington's played a little bit better this year overall than the Eagles. I think that NFL and Thursday Night Football lucked out with potentially the best game of the year this week coming up.
I can't wait, man. I love a lot of the pieces they have going there. Mike Samra still to, even though my man, what's his name, Johnny Newton had that offsides at the end of that game. That sucks. I like him a lot. They've got
that was unfortunate, that offsides at the end.
It was. But yeah, I'm excited. Jaden Daniels is playing like an all-pro. Let's be real. And how they contain Jaden Daniels on Thursday nights can be a lot of fun. I can't wait, man.
I mean, this will be our only time to talk, me and you, here about this. How do you foresee Vic Fangio's defense handling somebody like Jalen Daniels? Will he? I forget which coach. I've had a couple former coaches on this show before, and I forget which one I was talking to, but they said that the shadow concept, leaving somebody in the shadow of the quarterback, is an outdated concept, or should be an outdated concept. But Vic Fangio is an old school kind of coach. Do you think somebody like a Zach Bonner and a Kobe Dean is going to be a shadow of Jalen Daniels, or do you think that they're just going to run their defense?
I think they're going to run their defense. I would be surprised if they didn't. I'm trying to think back, like, who had the best legs this season. I remember Joe Burrow getting a lot of yards. Or was it Joe Burrow who got like several like third down conversions with his legs? So this team has been beaten on like third and longs with mobile quarterbacks. That, not saying Joe Burrow is like an incredibly mobile quarterback, but it can happen. So I don't know yet.
I guess Joe Burrow, Daniel Jones is technically a mobile quarterback. Jordan Love technically has some legs, but this is going to be their biggest test mobile quarterback wise this week.
Yeah. I'll have more when we do our Commanders preview tonight. I don't really have that much yet on the Commanders.
What do you think about, the momentum going into this game and the fact that it is Thursday Night Football, it is at home, which I forget. I did the stat last year, so I don't know how much it's changed. But whenever I had the stat up last year, Thursday Night Football, the home team had like a 75% chance to win the game. Coming off a big win over Dallas, Washington, do they question themselves a little bit coming off of a really tough, or do they just realize it was two great teams going at it and, they just came up a smidge short? Do you think there's anything to the momentum going into this game?
I don't know. I guess I still think the Eagles are the better team. I still believe that if the Eagles can stop shooting themselves in the foot as an offense, this is the better team top to bottom. I don't know how much I believe in the Commanders. I don't know how much I believe in the Steelers. Like, you follow the NFL a lot more than I do. I'm pretty much Eagles and out when it comes to the NFL. More of a college football fan. So we'll see. I mean, you have to definitely tip your hat to the Eagles in terms of momentum, given how effective they are running the ball and how effective the red zone offense has been. They're now like a top 10 red zone offense, which they were bottom in the league not that long ago. And you look at the defense. I mean, this is the first time we've had an offense and a defense playing well together. So it's got.
I'm not trying to say that Washington's not good. I'm not. But if you look at they're 7-3. They obviously lost to the Steelers this past week. But a couple weeks ago, they got lucky on a Hail Mary to beat the Bears, who are not very good. And if the Bears just had even an inkling of knowledge on how to stop a Hail Mary, that would have changed that game. They beat the Panthers, they beat the Giants, they beat the Browns, same teams as us basically. They got beat by the Ravens. They had one really good win against the Cardinals because the Cardinals are surprisingly a pretty good team. They lost to the Buccaneers just like we did. So the Washington, they're a really good team. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but they're one or two bounces from being 7-3 to being 5-5. You know what I mean? It's a razor fine line for what Washington is. They're playing better. They're coached better. Their organization seems to be taking that first step of, ridding themselves of the stank of Daniel Snyder. But, the Commanders are a good team. I don't want to say they're a great team like other people want to say.
I think what I do think is real is Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. I do think that is a duo that probably is one of their biggest strengths. And
Mhm.
you look at the way Q and Cooper DeJean have completely locked up great wide receiver quarterback duos like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You could go on and on and on. I do think that's in favor of the Eagles. I think the Eagles have scored 28 points or more in 4 straight games, something along those lines. So we'll see how real the Commanders are. Again, I need to deep dive into that today.
Yeah.
That's my plan. I'm off work today.
I was like, it must be nice. You're off work and you're just going to work all day. And I want to give Stevie Fuentes a comment here. What Dan Quinn has done is fantastic. Yeah, like I agree. Dan Quinn has turned that attitude and culture around like that down there in Washington. I don't think anybody expected Jalen Daniels to be this good this quickly, but the Commanders did things backwards. The Commanders built a great team, then went out and got their quarterback. Most teams get their quarterback, then build the team around him. They did it the other way around, and maybe that's the right way. You get a good, solid coach like Dan Quinn, you build a great team, then you throw your quarterback in there, and you let the great team help Jalen Daniels become what he is. So we'll see about that. But I think it's going to be a fantastic battle, and I did not think at this point it would be Thursday Night Football for first place in the NFC East on the line. Like, this might be the biggest game of the year right now. You know, at this point, definitely the biggest game of the year.
I'm not a gambling person, Phil. I definitely have an impulsive personality. Like, I've gone to like Vegas, and I've actually come back a couple times from bachelor parties and like won some money coming home, and I will have like dreams about gambling for like weeks. I am anti-gambling because I know I just don't jive well with that. And that's the one thing I wish I put money on was the Commanders this season. I could easily go back to another show and definitely called that calling. I also called Dallas imploding. That was
I said Washington would be in second place. I put Dallas in third, but I put the caveat that I wanted to put them in last place in the division. But I remember saying that these words exactly. I didn't want Cowboys fans to come crawling into my mentions for putting them in last place. So I'll just be courteous and put them in third place. So I don't want to stir up too much drama there.
Yeah. So, I mean, they have some nice pieces. You know, Jeremy Chin had a big turnover yesterday. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not a believer just yet. I think the Eagles are still pound for pound a better team.
Absolutely agree with you on that. Turning around an organization that quickly is amazing. Even Lurie took a solid 2 to 3 years. Absolutely. I was just thinking about the Ray Rhodes era at the start of Jeffrey Lurie's time, Duck, yesterday. I was thinking about favorite Eagles-Cowboys memories, and one of my favorites is the Eagles in 1995. They stop them again on 4th down against Barry Switzer. One of my favorite moments as a youngin' growing up. So it made me start thinking about the Ray Rhodes era and the beginning of the Jeffrey Lurie era a little bit. And this is probably why Washington turning around is probably why Josh Harris don't even know what's going on with his Sixers team at this point. Like, he probably doesn't even know if the Sixers play on a given day. All Josh Harris bought the Devils so he can afford to buy the Sixers so he can afford to buy his first football team. That's all he really cared about, was getting that money to buy his first football team there. Commanders have an owner that actually pays attention. I wish the Sixers had an owner that paid attention, Mitchie Poo. Dan Snyder left that building and the team got decent. Yeah, how crazy is that? I mean, what's Daniel Snyder doing this year, sitting at home in his billion-dollar mansion with all his money? Do you think he even knows that the Washington Commanders are good all of a sudden? Or do you think he's sitting at his home saying, it was all me? I put the pieces in place, and the Commanders are lucking out from me.
Like Jerry Jones. These guys have no idea what's going on. No way.
Yeah,
they're not even – they're – football's so down on the totem pole of, like, their everyday life. Like, no.
The Noom saying the NFL makes it much easier to improve quickly now if you have any type of competent leadership. It's true. That's why I've always said the Eagles don't go into rebuilds. They go into retools occasionally. Retooling is a 2-year flip. You know, rebuilding is a 5-6 year flip. You know, retooling is what the NFL is set up for doing. I joked at the beginning of the show, I wouldn't be shocked if Mike McCarthy was fired before this show ended. You know, it's crazy to see that Jerry Jones can't see, and nobody in that organization can see that Jerry Jones is that big of a disaster. And as long as Jerry Jones is in charge of the Cowboys, I do not foresee a situation where the Cowboys are going to be relevant again for several years. Like, they just dumped all this money to CD, Dak. You'll have Micah coming up soon. Like, there's no quick Noom says it's easy to make that quick turnaround.
Mhm.
I don't foresee a path. I foresee it being an Eagles Commanders division for a long time.
I do too. Again, Eagles' youngest defense in the NFL. I'm trying to think what's my like favorite Eagles, Commanders, Eagles, Redskins memory. It's probably the 2010 massacre.
Okay.
With Vic going off for like 4 touchdowns. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Against
Was that the
Tom
one when Starship number 7 was born? Was that the first big one? One of Michael Vick's first big games with the Eagles was against Washington, and we started calling him Starships number 7.
I think that wasn't that the first, like it was like one of the early games of the season,
Yeah.
which was that Chip Kelly?
I don't remember. My memory's a little foggy this morning. Joe saying Djax's touchdown would be for him. I think that was in the Starship number 7 game that I'm talking about. The big touchdown over the middle. I don't know. Favorite Washington Eagles memory. I'll have to dig deep on this one. I will say it was really fun when I first started doing this. When I was still part of All About the Birds, one Washington Eagles week, we got former Eagles and Commanders running back B. Mitchell on the show, and he called in the show from the golf course, which was hilarious. And he and I, we went back and forth with so much Washington Eagles trash talk. He's like, "Look, I got nothing but love for the Eagles, but I was Washington first, and we had a little back and forth trash talk there, and that was a blast to get there." So,
that's cool.
that's correct. Eagles never gets so bad that they have needed a soup to nut rebuild. Yeah, I don't think they really did. I mean, even going from Andy Reid to Chip Kelly, they turned it around really quickly there. That was literally a 1-year turnaround from Reid's last year to Chip Kelly. Daniel Snyder is sitting in the mansion depressed because his money cotton machine is broken. Yeah. 2010, that was still Andy. Yeah, that was, okay, yeah. Monday Night Football. Yep. Best Commanders memory is the Randall huge comeback in 89. Well, Al Harris laterals to, oh man, Nooms, you're pulling this one out. Once you brought up Al Harris and Wes Hopkins into it, I remember it now. Deebs might be a little too young for that one.
Yeah, that was 5. So
I was 9-10 years old during this game. So I vaguely remember that one. Yeah, Brian Mitchell was a great punt or kick returner. Bounty Bowl was the Bounty Bowl. Yeah, the body bag game for sure. I forgot about the body bag game as well. Brian Mitchell. Speaking of Brian Mitchell, it's just something that I want to bring up real fast. It's not important, but it's something. I have not noticed, and you watch a lot more of the All-22. You watch a lot more film breakdown than I do. I don't remember a team before the Cowboys yesterday kicking off the way the Cowboys did to the Eagles and forcing them to return kicks. I mean, it was only a couple because the Cowboys only scored a few times, so there were only, 3 kickoffs. But the Eagles had to return the ball every single kickoff, and it seemed like they were purposely doing that. Is that something that you see, trending around the league more that I'm not noticing? Because I haven't noticed it before, and I kind of feel like it's interesting to see how that plays out, whether maybe that makes kick returners more important, whether or not, whether teams are building that fly. It's just something to think about while you're doing research this week. Are more teams doing that than we realize? Because the Eagles are kicking it off through the end zone every single time.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I will admit, I don't like Cooper DeJean returning kicks. I don't
either. He had a really great punt return, but I don't like it either.
It was great, and he's had a couple of the last 2-3 weeks, but dude, he's now like a premier player on this defense. He's arguably playing like an all-pro,
absolutely.
Numbers-wise. So I don't like him returning kicks. Why can't that be someone else?
Yeah. Well, he's not returning kicks. He's returning the punts, but the kicks, Will Shipley was back there, and he had some nice returns as a kick. It's just something that I noticed, and it was something that I realized I hadn't noticed before, and I was just curious about it. Guys, you're watching Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. Please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Twitter, hit the repost button. You can comment. We've had a few comments from Twitter, but you can do that and find my man Deebs over here. Party on Broad podcast page, doing great work as always. We are talking Eagles. I know Deebs wants to talk a little Sixers too this morning, so we're going to dive into a little Sixers here in a moment.
Snap.
But guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and anywhere else you're watching, even on replay, I check all the comments, guys, so don't miss out on all that. Right back to the comments here. The first 5 draft picks of 2024 are all playing and contributing now.
Yeah,
that is just spectacular. Save DeJean. Who were the first 5 picks then? The Daniels, May. It was all, they weren't all quarterbacks, were they?
Oh my gosh, I don't even.
Daniels, May.
Um,
I got to look. Now I'm curious who the
Caleb,
first four were.
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams, yeah, who
Bo Nix
stinks,
was
like I
drafted
said
high.
so.
What's his face? Michael Penix Jr. was drafted high. There's a ton of quarterbacks in last
All
year.
right, so yeah, it went Williams, Jalen Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison. Oh yeah, that was a stud pick there for the Cardinals at 4. Joe Alt was 5. So yeah, they're all playing, and then Neighbors 6. I don't know if J.C. Latham is playing for the Titans much, but yeah, Penix.
Anais Smith got out there a little bit for the Birds.
Yeah.
Good to see. And I think, Trot Jr. It's gonna be a process for him to get on the field the way Dean and Zach Bond are playing. But yeah, I would love to see Will Shipley get some more snaps, more playing time as the season goes on. Especially if this is kind of the norm for the Eagles, especially the way they're running the football.
Yeah, missed it. Yo, the punch in the goalpost, that was Vi Sikahema. You got to be a Vi guy to know. It wasn't Brian Mitchell. That was Vi Sikahema. I'm a Vi guy, so I know. Oh, Nooms is saying it too. Yeah, it's a Vi guy kind of thing. You know, Vi Sikahema was a fun kick returner for the Eagles. Oh, you're talking about the Eagles. Yeah, I was talking about the NFL and the Eagles, but yeah, exactly. Same point made, though. The Cooper DeJean thing, that just tells me it's time to get Britton Covey back on the field. You know, we got to be getting close to his 6-week recovery time, don't we?
I think so. And Jordan Mailata has to be close, right? We haven't really heard about
Jordan Mailata's been out for his 4 full weeks now. And we haven't heard anything. How much of the questionable offensive line pass blocking, you know, I don't want to take anything away from Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson's had done a nice job filling in for Jordan Mailata. He's obviously not Jordan Mailata. How much difference does that pass blocking make going from Jordan Mailata to Fred Johnson?
It's a big deal.
Fred
Johnson,
it almost makes you appreciate Mailata more.
Yeah, it's you can definitely tell he gets confused at times. I would say overall his play has been up and down. Like he literally took out Trey Hendrickson against the Bengals, took out Brian Burns against the Giants. This week against Parsons, that was a huge matchup that we talked about. Definitely Parsons won that one. Yeah. Trying to think of who the previous week was. Jaguars. Who is that? I don't even remember who the name was, but I feel like Fred Johnson.
I don't even think the Eagles knew, because I remember Nick Sirianni saying number whatever. Like Nick Sirianni didn't know the name; he just called him out by his number.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars kind of owned Fred Johnson just a little bit. I mean, overall, I can't complain because he's a backup. I think overall, offensive line wise, they've been fine. But I mean, Mailata for more so, having him for the tush push. That's their best play. And I feel like there's been definitely somewhat of a drop in the tush push over the last few weeks. And I think a big part of that is Fred Johnson.
Noom's making a joke about K1 not saying, because K1's Kenny Gainwell's burner account basically is what we always thought on this show. But now it seems like it's like 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row where I've noticed Kenny Gainwell missing blitz pickups when he's out there subbing in for Saquon Barkley. You're the college film expert, right? You're the one that watches all these prospects. When are we going to see Will Shipley? I know it's hard to get a rookie on the field. When are we going to see him in meaningful snaps? Like we've seen here or there, dabble here or there. Is he not a good running back in the blitz pickup department? Was that not something he did well coming out of college? Because that's what keeps rookie running backs off the field, in my opinion, typically. But Gainwell's not doing much better. So, is there any chance we start to see some Shipley meaningful snaps?
I don't see why not. And that's not a knock on Kenny Gainwell. I think Kenny Gainwell's been generally fine. I think he gets too much hate. And yeah, he's had some bad moments this season, but I think there's been more good than bad. For Will Shipley, he didn't do a lot of pass blocking while at Clemson. So there wasn't a lot of data to kind of make a stance on that. During the preseason, there were definite times where he struggled with picking up the blitz. That's definitely the key area for him to grow. And I do think I think you'll see Kenny Gainwell gone next season. Will Shipley take that role next season? And I'm of the belief like day 2 running back, get a guy maybe more of a Saquon clone and have Will Shipley be that third down back, in pass catching situations out of that backfield. I think that is definitely Will Shipley's bread and butter. In terms of this season, you're probably not going to get a lot of Will Shipley. Saquon's playing like an MVP right now. it's kind of hard to get him off the field. What Jalen Hurts and Saquon have done for this Eagles offense is off the charts, and especially in the pistol. The pistol and the I form with Ben Van Sumeren as the fullback, they're now like creating these like unbelievable mismatched chess piece type of schemes for defenses to kind of guess wrong every time. It's really exciting, and I want to see more of that. Like,
Yeah.
Like
I mean, can we get Ben Van Sumeren a fullback number so he doesn't have to check in every play?
I know we're talking about Will Shipley and Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah.
My take, I want to see more Ben Van Sumeren. So that's like, I think I would like to see him more in the flats, more touches going forward, less Kenny Gainwell.
Deebs, college football question. How'd you like the way the first rankings? I don't even know what the first rankings are, so I can't answer that.
Let's see. We've got
I have no clue.
Hold on. I didn't even see them yet because it was all Eagles. Oregon killing it. Ohio State killing it. I think everyone's beat it. Wow. BYU's number 3. That's wild. I think it's going to be a really exciting year in college football because everyone's beatable. There's not one team outside of, I think, maybe Oregon that looks dominant on both sides of the football. And even Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, he can be shook a little bit. Like he's not a big time NFL caliber draft prospect. He's more of a system type of quarterback. And if you have the right pass rush, like an Ole Miss pass rush, that can definitely shake down Oregon off their number 1 ranking. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. If you're not watching the college football playoff and all that, like, I don't know what you're doing because I think
I have no more time to watch any more sports. All right. I
don't blame you.
So college sports has been eliminated.
I don't know how you do it, man, because I'm like maxed out because I watch college football all day long. And
I'm tapped out. I have no more time. I have no more time to watch any more sports. Every Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, Eagles game is. I had to eliminate something. But Ben Van Sumeren, Nooms, I get it, man. I liked how last week they included him in a pass play, so it's not just that, but you're seeing under eye formation with Ben Van Sumeren. You're seeing play action out of it. It didn't work well yesterday, but you saw your first, I think that was probably the first, naked boot I've seen Jalen Hurts ever run yesterday.
But,
it didn't work out, but, it is what it is.
But that's the secret sauce that's going to lead them to opening up the middle of the field. When they run those I forms, when they run, under center and you've got Saquon in the back and BBS in the back, and that's what's going to set up like Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field. It's the play action that I'm most excited about. It's things that we've started to see, some nibbles and crumbs of it going forward. I want to see more of that. That shouldn't be like something we run just in the second half like we've seen. Run it every damn possession. And that should be the staple of the Eagles offense, not the other way around.
Yeah, to this comment, I only want to know about Saquon and the Eagles. Remember, you're a smart guy. You're involved in the school system, so you should know this answer. How many human beings are there in the earth? Like, how many billion of people? Just throw a ballpark number out there. 8 billion people in the world. One person, only one person, chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. 1 out of 8 billion people. All the other people in the world knew Saquon Barkley over Daniel Jones, but one person didn't, and we love it. Bruce, yes, now I had to start my own channel. It's all good. Glad to see you here now. I had somewhere else to go, but now I'm thrown off on all of it because Saquon Barkley was not chosen, and I can't be happier. But Ben Van Sumeren is a defensive player working fullback. Give him some time. We are giving him time.
For now until Tyler Warren takes that spot. Just throwing it out.
Tyler Warren. Okay, gotcha. All right, I know we got about 20 minutes left in the show, so I would be remiss to have Deebs on here and not ask about the Sixers' huge comeback victory in overtime. Let me tell you something. That was one of the most obnoxiously awful games, and I know the Sixers won. I was pissed off that Paul George, I know he's on a minutes limit, but, man, you can't play in overtime of that game. But it all comes down to, why in the world is Jarrett McCain not starting for the Sixers team with Tyrese Maxey hurt? I know he played a lot of minutes last night, but should have played more, honestly, at this point.
His growth the last few months is ridiculous, and I don't think we talk about it enough. I remember watching him vividly during the summer league. He was a turnover machine. He couldn't buy a bucket. There were flashes of playmaking, But overall, I think it was more bad than good for Jared McCain. I had questions about his defense. He was getting picked apart on switches. And I would say over the last few months, I look like an idiot. I had him number 9 on my big board for the Eagles. I cover a lot of the NBA draft. And I was a Dalton Connect guy over Jared McCain. I will call it as it is. I was dead wrong because Jared McCain, his mid-range game, the way he moves off ball, that looks outstanding. I think the first few games of the season, he was really focused on scoring the basketball, really just shooting. The whole offense has been god-awful, to be honest. But what I have been pounding the table for on my show is more playmaking Jared McCain, and I think we're starting to really see it. And we saw it last night. He's not an elite athlete, but what he does have is something that Tyrese Maxey really struggles with. He has a natural feel for penetrating and shifting gears and finding the open man on the perimeter. Very small sample size, but we saw it last night. There were flashes of it during the summer league. There were flashes of it during the preseason. I want to see more of that. I think Jared McCain's upside and potential is directly tied to what this guy is as a playmaker. There are definitely some like Malcolm Brogdon kind of vibes I'm getting with him. Oh my God, that's awesome.
There's been 2 or 3 Malcolm Brogdon comments in the comment section compared. The thing that stands out to me is, he's a rookie. He's not like, it wasn't like he was a top 3 pick, being forced into play. Well, theoretically not a bad team. They're a bad team, but they're not supposed to be a bad team. There wasn't supposed to be much opportunity or expectations for him. How often you see a guy taken in the 20s
It's awesome.
play with the kind of confidence. Like when he was out there, I didn't turn it on till later in the game. I was watching the Eagles. Then I had to watch Yellowstone. Guys, Yellowstone was fantastic last night.
Was it?
Just, fantastic episode of Yellowstone last night. But so I got into the fourth quarter and overtime, and it looked like he belonged out there, is the way I got. Like, he didn't look nervous with the ball. He didn't look to defer to Paul George in the fourth quarter. He didn't look to defer to anybody in overtime. He thought he belonged. He knew he belonged, and he made plays. And it's something that you don't really find often in a rookie in that situation, that level of confidence that early in their career. Let's be honest, it was important that the Eagles or the Sixers won that game last night. I mean, it was only their second win. They needed a win to get off the schneid. So that was that confidence, that I belong moment from Jared McCain.
And it's the little things that he's doing. I see him box out. I see him fight for boards. Obviously, the elephant in the room is what is his fit with Tyrese Maxey defensively. That's the biggest concern. But this, in general, the Sixers team has looked old. They've looked slow, and there is zero excuse why Jared McCain should be coming off the bench after Eric Gordon, for example. Like, Eric Gordon needs to go well behind into that pecking order. Jared McCain needs to be one of the first guards off the bench because of the little things that he does. He does have a little shot-making, playmaking ability, which is exactly what the Sixers do not have at this point in time. And I got to give a shout-out, too. He clamped up LaMelo Ball on that final possession. You can go find it on X. It's those little things that we're seeing from Jared McCain that it's continuously making me look stupid. I didn't see that coming whatsoever. His improvement these last few months are off the charts.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, I'm almost seeing the team evolve. I know they're 2-7. I know they've been dreadful. I know Paul George has only played a few games, which I'm not sure why he's still on a minute restriction, honestly, at this point. Like, he should be playing better than he is right now, Paul George. Joel Embiid will be back on Tuesday, so we're still learning. But I kind of feel like we're starting to learn a little bit about where you might have been wrong about Jared McCain. I might be wrong about, Gershon Yabusele. Like, that guy's playing out of his mind right now.
He looks really good.
I thought he was going to be just a minor role player when this team was healthy. He's earned himself a role on this team. We know KJ Martin maybe now hasn't taken that step forward we wanted. Like, we're starting to learn during this Joel Embiid absence a little bit more about the team as a whole. And while I'm not ready to punt on the season just yet, there are some bright spots and down spots about the team. And yes, I was very harsh on Daryl Morey over the weekend, but it is Daryl Morey.
I'll go. All right, let's do pros and cons. Start with cons. Cons, Andre Drummond is unplayable.
Yep.
That was my fear heading into this season. Gives you zero finishing around the basket, gives you zero rim protection. I mean, Andre Drummond is a great example of how much Joel Embiid impacts the defense of the Sixers. I would absolutely start to grow Bona now before than later. I think Kelly Oubre does not fit on this team, and I love Kelly Oubre. But if it was up to me, I would roll with Caleb Martin because I think the fit with the shot looks broken, but it's been getting better, and I think the fit with the three main guys is going to be there. I think Gershon Yabusele is without a doubt the starting four on this team going forward. He doesn't hesitate from three. Kind of does a lot of the little things. He could play that inside-out game with Joel Embiid. I think we're going to see a lot of Gershon Yabusele, less Eric Gordon. I think what we'll see is a Kelly Oubre, KJ Martin trade down the line.
Kelly Oubre, okay, I like that. Noom saying he loves that Nick Nurse didn't play Paul George. I don't think he was allowed to play Paul George in overtime.
I do want to talk about Paul George because I know the shooting numbers aren't great, the surface stats aren't great, but there are what I've been really impressed with Paul George is his playmaking, and there are definitely crumbs that I start to see it make sense in terms of him running the offense with Maxey playing more off ball. I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I thought Paul George would be more of an elite 3-and-D kind of guy that stands on the perimeter and just defends. But I very much see how the pieces could come together for the first time over these last couple games. And I know there's not been a lot of positives, but I do think we could see Paul George have a huge part of this offense in terms of running it through him, if that makes sense.
Going back a few was it Friday's game when Paul George took the last shot? Or was it yesterday? Did he have the last shot in the fourth quarter?
That was
it was yesterday that's actually now twice now that it was the game that Maxey deferred to him a few games ago, and then again last night. End of game, end of regulation, final shot. Paul George seems to be the guy that's going to get that final shot. But you saw it again last night. There didn't seem to be any play. It was just Paul George gets the ball, ISO, takes a fadeaway shot. Is that more Paul George or is that more Nick Nurse, or is there just not a game plan for drawing up plays at the end of a game right now?
Spacing has been god-awful in general for the Sixers so far this season. I have seen some playmaking chops from Paul George in the pick and roll. And I do think with Gershon and Joel Embiid especially down there, I think it could get pretty good. I think there are some reasons for optimism. But Nick Nurse, I don't understand it. He's been completely overrated the first few games of the season. To roll out what they have done and look that unprepared and that sloppy is unexcusable. The entire premise of this season was to look good without Joel Embiid, and I think he's failed miserably. Like you said, heavy ISO. That's all they do for the most part, and that's just not what I expected from Nick Nurse. I know. With Joel Embiid, they ran a lot of pick and pop and ran a lot of the offense through Embiid in that mid-range from like 12 feet, but that's not good enough. I expect more from Nick Nurse, and they look truly like they're playing their first time together for the bulk of this season. And what happened to the preseason? Like, what happened to training camp? Like, you knew this was going to happen. For them to look that silly and that unprepared is just an indictment on Nick Nurse. And I've never thought of that before, man. Like, I'm a Nick Nurse guy.
I went back actually this past weekend and found tweets from the day the Sixers hired Nick Nurse. And I was just so positive about everything he did in Toronto, developing young players, a great defensive-minded coach. All the things I tweet about, I'm like, hold on. He's not doing any of that here. So it made me think maybe we overrated Nick Nurse a little bit when he came here.
And the play is inconsistent too, like where McCain will look great and then play 2 minutes the next night. Or that's happened with multiple players. So it's been really up and down for Nick Nurse.
All right. Well, Joel Embiid seems to be coming back on Tuesday. The start of this has all been a setup, okay? the NBA needed Joel Embiid to play in the NBA Cup to help the ratings and the importance, because that'll be the title that Sixers win, the NBA Cup. But all joking aside, he is back. What do you expect out of Joel Embiid game one for him? What kind of minutes restriction do you think I personally feel like he is rushing back at this point because of the pressure he's facing from the media and the league, which is not good to rush a guy like him back. But if we're waiting this long, why not wait a few more games if he needs it? But seems like they're going to bring him back on Tuesday. What are your expectations for Joel Embiid on Tuesday?
That's a great question. Ideally, you want to see him more focused on rebounding, defense, protecting the rim, playmaking. I want to see less usage on offense, more of a focus on defense. I think that will pay huge dividends. But at the end of the day, though, without Tyrese Maxey, they don't have a lot of options on offense. So I think you'll probably see a lot of the same, at least for now. And if I was
you buy into this whole, they might be rushing him back because of the pressure.
I think it's fair. And I think the plan all along was for Joel Embiid to take decent sized breaks for durations of time throughout this season. I don't think the Sixers team is serious at all, and they won't be until probably mid-January when they can make that move. And if I'm going to be blunt and honest, the Sixers should not be in the business of trading any future picks right now, because at least from the surface, there are some real concerns with this roster and its cohesion and the age and things like that they should be looking to build rather than kind of trade away some assets. I know
everybody was joking about the tank for Cooper Flag thing over the weekend after the Lakers game, but realistically speaking, I think you're onto something where I said before when the offseason started not to go after Paul George. Not because I didn't think Paul George would be a good player or a good fit or X, Y, and Z. I just thought that the Sixers team needed to take one step back so that they could take two steps forward. And I almost in the offseason was in the mindset of not writing off this season, but just letting this season play out however and not locking yourself into a big contract like Paul George and whatnot. And now we're seeing that we still might need to do that. Now you're stuck with the Paul George contract. You're stuck with another extension on Joel Embiid, which you had to do, but you didn't have to. I love that you bring that up because we only have next year's draft pick. If it's top 5 or top 6 protected or something. Yeah, which probably won't happen. But, outside of that, they do need those assets.
Zero chance Adam Silver allows the Sixers to get a top 6 pick.
The Sixers could win 10 games, and I guarantee they'd have the 7th pick in the draft.
That's how we know it would play out. But I do think it is in their best interest to take a step back this year. I mean, look at it. Like, if Embiid goes out for a considerable amount of time, like this is, to be honest, a bottom 5, bottom 10 team. And I think they need to get younger. I think they need to get faster. I'll be the first one to admit I drank the Kool-Aid on this team for sure. I was excited for the Sixers, and I have major concerns. Even with Embiid back, they still look like a play-in team and probably a first-round exit.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. Like, I almost want to joke that it's time for the Sixers to just shut Joel Embiid down for the year and just let him get 1,000% healthy for next year, because even with Joel, if he plays, what are we now, 9 games in the season? So that leaves us with 73 games. Even if he plays 40 games this year, which that seems a lot, 40 out of 73 games, that's more than 50% of the remaining games. Like, even if they go 25-15 in those games, the rest of the 30 games, they've shown they can't win without him. So, just take it easy this year. Get that draft pick. Get something. I don't know. Find a way to move some of these players and get younger and healthier.
That's what I'm thinking, is instead of like trading like a KJ Martin and a Kelly Oubre for, maybe a starting 4, maybe moving those guys for future picks down the line to make and move for better pieces around this roster.
The way I look at it is I want to say this here. We're almost wrapping up for the day here, guys, but Joel Embiid, the Marcus Hayes situation, the suspension, I almost feel like that could be the way that gets Joel Embiid out of this town.
Wow.
Because Joel Embiid, you didn't see the Sixers organization really take Joel Embiid's back there in that situation. He had to be fined. I get, or suspended. I get that. You can't lay hands no matter how justifiable it was. But they're letting Marcus Hayes into the locker room still. They let him in the locker room then when he should. They should have known that wasn't the moment to let Marcus Hayes in. You know, they didn't like suspend his credentials or anything like that. Like if there was ever an avenue for Joel Embiid to ask out, which I think it's probably been in the back of his mind. He says he loves the player, but probably in the back of his mind's like, I might need to go somewhere else to win. This is the area for him to kind of push for that.
I hope Daryl Morey is
like Daryl Morey's an idiot. So whatever Daryl Morey wants to do is wrong.
His job should be to explore all avenues, and if that's something that needs to be explored, he better be doing his homework, and they better do it now rather than later, because that contract looks ridiculous. I'll be honest.
100%. All right, what do you got going on this week over on Party on Broad?
Yeah, sure. I'm making videos all day, so go check if you love the Eagles. I'm already into the NBA draft and the NFL draft for next year. I put out my top 10 rankings on edge and quarterback. I'll be making shorts of those as well. And I know
the season's not even half over, and we're worried about the draft already.
I love it. Oh my God. And after quarterback, I'm probably going to do tight end because I think that's some interest there.
The Eagles are going to need some tight ends, so I like that.
Already covering a couple guys in the NBA draft. I covered Mackenzie Mbaku, a 4. That looks really fun. And another polarizing guy in Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina. Looks like a young Dennis Rodman. Go check him out. He's really fun. Can't shoot a lick. Be perfect in Philadelphia. Tonight, not sure what time we're going live. It's probably going to be normal time, 9 o'clock, with a Commanders preview for the Birds. And then Birds of the Round Table and Eagles Pin Pool tomorrow night at 8. More Commanders talk. And of course, I do like daily shorts on the Sixers and Eagles and the NFL draft. So go check that out,
guys. And just follow him at Mr. Crockpot or at Party on Broad, and you'll find all his stuff there. But it's time to wrap this up. It is a short week, so we're gonna have a quick turnaround. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking more Sixers, but we will be talking. We're already going to start diving into the Washington game because it's a short week, and Ryan Reese will be returning. He was supposed to come on last week. Had a little emergency, but Ryan Reese will be on. I forget. We haven't agreed. Thursday or Friday, he'll be on, guys. So we got lots happening this week. So make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. But it's time. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to say go Birds. And it's time, guys, to say bubbles up to y'all.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, pop.